Welcome to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast with your host, legendary powerlifter and strength athlete, Chad Ikes. For most, the journey of strength starts in the gym, but should inevitably expand through all aspects of life. Join us as we discuss all things strength. Now, here's your host, Chad Ikes.
Hello, everyone. I'm back, and I have another great guest. Jimmy Kolb is back with us after benching his all-time insanely huge 1,400 pounds. And I'm going to go ahead and jump right in because it was, I know you did this, it was a little while back, but another video of it came across my Instagram today, and it was like kind of a head judge video.
Oh, yeah.
Or head judge angle.
Mm-hmm.
And we can talk about the whole stupid ass controversy with shirts and shit, but I would just watch that video and like, I'm not your coach or nothing, but I was honestly proud because I'm like, holy shit. Like, you didn't rush it. You were extremely patient. You like got your hand off, you held it, you got set. Like it was clean, man. Like it was not rushed, not really weird. Like you were really unbelievably stable. And I mean, I don't like the gear thing is weird because there's people that don't get it and they rag on it. But I don't think people understand 1,400 fucking pounds. And to handle that and to be stable with that, even with the shirt is crazy.
Yeah. That lift almost didn't happen. And I'm my own worst enemy and biggest critic. That was one of my less clean lifts that I've done of the last maybe year and a half or so. It was now the problem that I say it almost didn't happen. That was my third attempt. I really wanted to do one and done, get it the fuck over with, just hit it on the opener and then call it good and go home and celebrate all that crap. So unfortunately, what happened on the first attempt was I bent the bench that we were using, and a lot of people don't know that. So if you, I have
wait
a
a minute,
full.
you bent the bench. What do you mean you bent the bench?
I bent it. Yeah, I actually the uprights. Actually, I bent it so the uprights started coming in like this.
Really?
Yeah, because I held it.
So the uprights basically started coming in on it.
A little bit. Like you could look at the head of the bench, you could see they were like canted in. Because when I was getting my hand off by a buddy of mine, Uncle Nick. I can't pronounce his last name.
Hey, Uncle Nick. I love Uncle Nick.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He lives just like an hour from here. So he was there. He was judging and also handing off to me in the middle. And he said he could feel the spotter platform bowing.
Oh, shit.
As I was receiving the weight and letting it settle. It was actually bowing under his feet. And so I was holding it there, and I was like, because I was on a blue bench on my first attempt. So I have a full meet recap on YouTube for my members and stuff. And from end to end, even the couple days when we got there, I was on a blue bench for my first attempt. And I held it, and something felt really weird. Odd. I've held that weight probably a dozen and a half, maybe 20 times in training. I'm like, nothing in my body said, start bringing it down. Something felt off. So I threw it back in the rack. Room was silent. Dead silent. I was like, no, something's fucked up. No. So I was over there sitting down, and I walked with Uncle Nick to the head of the bench, and I said, look at that. Does that look weird to you? And we found out that the uprights had actually bent inwards. So I was bowing the bench enough to where I was actually, you think about it, I was on a slight decline with it. A very, very slight decline, which is different than I've ever held it before. That's why it felt so weird. I was at a different angle. So that's never happened before. So they called the entire, all the competitors to the platform, please, all the competitors to the platform. They said, due to safety concerns, we want to switch out the bench. Is anybody opposed to that? Nobody said no, so we switched out the bench for Elite FTS bench, big orange one that I was on, and that saved the day. And the West Side guys had showed up. George Albert was there, Tony Ramos, and Jeremy Smith, and they said that was the coolest shit we've ever fucking seen. So Even if you don't get it, that was so fucking cool that you did that.
I love all
But
those guys. I could totally see him saying that.
well, they showed up, and I was like, who? I recognized the little guy. It was Jeremy Smith, and I looked next to him, and George Howlett was standing there. I was like, oh shit! I was like, hey, what are you guys doing here? They're like, well, it's on our bucket list to watch you compete. I was like, so you're here for me? Well, no pressure. Thanks a lot, guys. Good to see you. So they were there. So anyway, second attempt, I took the weight out, and I was dealing with a lot of oscillation and bowing in the bar. And I was bringing the weight down, and I couldn't control. Was doing this on the way down, couldn't control it. So I was take it. Right before I got the touch, somehow, some way, on the third attempt, I pulled it together. But it was so damn hard. It was so difficult. When the bar stopped midway from that stopping point till the lockout, I had 3 conversations in my head. The first one was, oh, good try, man. You got it this far. You're not going to get it. Take the L and go home. Second conversation, once it started to move, but it was moving this way when it was going up. Second conversation was, oh, shit, your arm's going to break, because my arm started to get real pissed off. Mm-hmm. And then as it kept moving, I said, fuck the arm, fuck the arm, fuck the arm. And then I got the rat call. That's why the left arm, after I get the rat call, the left arm is the one that gave out when it started to go back towards the rack, because I pulverized all the soft tissue in my left forearm to get that lift. So it was.
I think it's more like it's funny because in our heads, I've had the same experience. In my head, it seems horrible, and then I see the video and I'm like, oh, well, it's not as bad, but I still see it. And then a lot of people will look at the video and they're like, no, that was good. To me, it looked like it was a good lock. It just looked like, I mean, you just bench 1,400 pounds, your shoulders aren't going to be in the same position they were.
Yeah, I mean, the head spotter position video is the best one, that you can clearly see the touch. You can hear him say press. You see the lockout. You can see where the bar started as opposed to where it stopped. The videos from the side were not. It looked a little worse for wear, but that was a good video from the head position. Mm-hmm. I think that one really showed the lift itself. But it was so fucking hard, dude. It was just this release. I stood up off the bench, and normally I'm coherent, and I'm like, yeah, I got it for sure. I had no clue what the hell was going on. I looked over at the lights, and when I knew it was all 3, I just kind of collapsed. I'm like, it's over. It's all the hell, all the training, all the pain. It's over. I did it, and I can relax. For the first time in 19 years, I felt like I could finally relax. That was just such a rush. And I just kind of like fell to my knees. I was like, it's over.
How long ago did you set 1,400 into your head?
In February of 22, that's where I had benched 1225 and 1320 in the same competition. So once I hit 1320, again, that's February of 22, I was like, dude, I'm 80 pounds from 1,400. So I think over about a year and a half ago is when I had it set in my head that's not the end number, but that's the kind of an intermediate, like long-term goal.
Right.
Again, it took me a year and a half later after that to get it. So, February of 22 is when I had it in my head.
So I think, like, when I watched that video, one of the I think a couple takeaways that I had from it was your patience, and I think that's where I think a lot of lifters try to rush their lifts, and they don't take the time to get set. And I've always said, if you start out of position, good luck trying to get in position.
Yeah.
It was so cool to see you. And I go, dude, this has not come out of my mouth yet, but it will. If Jimmy Kolb can do 1,400 pounds and be patient, you can be patient. Trust me.
Yeah. I say that a lot. I like that you say that because I say it all the time. I tell people, they're like, hey, like I'm having trouble with the last quarter inch on the touch or the last whatever. And I say, you have to have patience. You have to get down there. It's going to suck. It might take a minute. You have to leave it in the right position. Mm-hmm. if you're not patient, if you rush it, if you take it out of position, get like a panic touch in the wrong out of the groove, it's not gonna be good. You have to pull it back. Um, and to say like, I mean, everything from the plates to the bar to the pad I was laying on to the height of the top of the pad to the floor to everything has to be perfect for a lift of that caliber. It's just the same basic principles I learned when I was 14, 15 years old, learning how to lift weights. I still use to this day, you know, symmetrical grip on the bar, being center on the pad, just lifting symmetrically. All those basic principles that I learned when I was a teenager still apply to this day at this level.
Paying attention to the details.
Yeah, even minute. I mean,
the better I always said, the better you get, the smaller that window gets for error. And so that was one of my other points, is that you actually, the first couple ones, you didn't really waste a lot of energy. I mean, it was a lot of energy to do it, but instead of going, fuck it, I'm going to fight through it, I'm going to get it, you went, no, it's not right.
No.
Like, something's not right. And I think I think newer lifters, I mean, yeah, you can kind of fight through it when you're a newer lifter. I think fighting through it is good, but you have to have the foresight to go that as I get better and better, I need to learn what's worth fighting through and what's not.
Yeah. I've fought through lifts. I've made corrections mid lift. But you definitely learn like what's worth fighting for, what isn't. You know, if you fight for this lift, maybe you'll get injured.
Mm-hmm.
If it's so far out of position, or if it's, you know, whatever. But so far, I mean, I've had pretty good success on my way up. I've only taken a couple of nasty spills. Not recently. It's been quite a few years, but yeah, it's being patient and being comfortable. And people ask me like, what's it feel like being underneath 1400? I'm like, I can't really explain it to you. I said, okay, what's your current like balls out max right now? You know, whether it's 300 or 400, 315, or I said, okay, however that feels to you is how 14 feels to me. Relatively speaking, I'm adapted to it. You know, that person would not be, but whatever your current absolute max is, that is what you are adapted to, body, CNS wise. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it's extraordinarily fucking heavy, but
I was going to be a dumbass and go, what does 1,400 pounds feel like in your hands? Because I've been asked those questions, and I'm like, dude, you can't. It's not really like, I remember Brent Mikesell at one point. He goes, after 700 pounds, it's all just fucking heavy.
So I finally crossed that threshold to where, yeah, anything above 8, all started kind of feeling the same. 8, 9,000, 1,100, all kind of relatively speaking. It's when I started training with 12 and up. That threshold of it all feeling the same kind of ended, and this new threshold began.
Even more.
So 1,200 in my hands is like, whoa, shit. Okay, there's something there. Then everything above that, it kind of shifts. So instead of like 700 to 1,100, all relatively feeling the same, 1,200 and up, every pound I add above 1,200, I can feel.
So would you say, I mean, you've done heavy raw, you've done heavy single ply, you've done heavy double ply and unlimited. Would you say as you go up in gear, it kind of changes a little bit? Or like for me, raw maxes feel like it's just hard on my body. With double ply, it was like, no, it's hard on my central nervous system. Like it actually felt different as to what it stressed in my body.
Mm-hmm. So after a while, I mean, CNS is always there. The stress on the CNS. For me, it started being like when I benched 1,200 for the first time ever, it was 1,225 my opener. It was heavy, but I was adapted to it. When I started benching over 1,300, I've got 1,320, 1,350, then 1,401. Those poundages, 13 plus, I'd say is where it changes to where, I mean, the CNS stress is always there, stress on the body, but bro, the 1400 was the first time where I benched a weight competition where it doesn't even feel like a bench press. It doesn't even it just all I feel from where the bar is sitting, that nice line right there,
Mm-hmm.
from here all the way down to me being pushed into that pad. It's nothing but shearing forces, pressure, and pain. And I can't tell a difference from holding it to bringing it down to pressing it. It's just horrible. For the first time in my life, it did not feel like I was benching. It just felt like sheer forces. So that's it has been different because it's just that damn heavy now.
That's an interesting thought though. I didn't really think of that, but like yeah, it's so much weight.
Yes.
I mean, to pick up 1,400 pounds like in a just like pick it up on your back is one thing, but to have it in your wrist, I mean, your fingers, your wrist bones, your tarsals, your metatarsals,
Yeah.
down through your radius and your ulna, and then you have the shear force in your muscles and
Mm-hmm.
on your tendons. It's
Yeah.
probably insane. I mean, if there was a
It's
way to record how much there is,
I wish there was. I'm sure there is. I don't have the resources or knowledge, but I'm sure there is. But
and that's something like, I mean, how could you train that? Because if you put that much stress on yourself all the time, you kill yourself.
and that's kind of so. And the other reason the lift almost didn't happen, besides what actually happened on the day, the
Mm-hmm.
bench failing and the absolute insane amount of oscillation I was dealing with from the barbell. And my one friend had pointed out, Fabi from Canton, where I used to lift up in Ohio. He said he has never seen a barbell actually bend from like the lifter's hands out. Like the bar was bending
Mm-hmm.
more from like where my hands were out. Like that's just insane. But leading up to the meet, so I went to the Arnold Classic. You know, we were hanging out there. I got real sick. I got sicker than a dog for about 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't start training. I had fully committed to this meet in Tennessee, July 29th, probably in like February.
Yeah.
Like, yep, I'll be there. You know, they said we'll have the plates, the bars, the bench you need. Like we got you. I was like, okay, I'll be there. Um, at the prospect of that's where I'm going to bench 1,400. So I started training for that meet middle of March. So 2 weeks after the Arnold, got back to training. So March, April, May, June, end of July, about 5 months. I was at my strongest in training probably about the middle or end of May, beginning of June.
Mm-hmm.
I could have benched 1450 in May. I was so damn strong in May and early June. Um, but I had 2 more months to go, end of July. And I felt like I couldn't slow down. I couldn't take a break. I had to hammer, hammer, hammer. And I was getting worse and worse and worse. My arm started getting worse. My soft tissue was getting more pulverized. But in my head, I'm like, I got a meet coming up. I can't slow down. And that's exactly what happened. I got more and more beat up to where when I
I know
walked
that
into the meet,
feeling.
oh, dude, I got the timing wrong. What I should have done was realized I only need about 3 months. I could have started training for that meet in May, June, probably like late April, early May.
Mm-hmm.
But I spent 5 months hammering my body, PRing all the way up till about 4 weeks prior to the meet. So 4 weeks out, I started going down.
Right.
The weight started getting heavier. The weight started moving slower. The PRs stopped happening. So yeah, it's incredible to me that it happened, not just because of what it is, it's 1,400, but the fact of how many things I did incorrect and circumstances that were unforeseen on the day.
Yeah.
I'm very happy that it happened. Oh, because it almost did not.
I'm kind of interested. I saw one of your posts where you went and got x-rayed after that, which I think is probably a genius idea that I might have been too stubborn to do myself. But
Well,
because I
I
remember
did
when
that.
I was doing 8 and 900, And I honestly thought I have compartment syndrome in my lower legs. I thought I was getting compartment syndrome in my forearms because I was
Okay.
having crazy pain. And it was hard to bench most of the time. My forearms were just killing me. And I'm going, he's like doing a whole lot more than I do. What are his forearms feel like? And then, hearing that
Yeah.
you are having some pain and stuff in them.
Yeah. So it's always been it's very familiar pain. I know that it's just soft tissue.
Mm-hmm.
It's just overuse soft tissue pain. I know that. But this was the worst it had ever been. After I did the lift, again, because I'm not just pressing the weight, I'm having to correct
Yeah.
this.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just, oh boy, it was, again, in my head, as I was doing the lift, I thought my arm was going to break. I was like, this is what's going to do it. And it didn't break, and I kept going, and I got the lift. But when the lift was over, I couldn't even make a fist. I couldn't do a
Yeah, I
thumbs
can
up
see
for the
that.
cameras.
Yeah.
I had no function of my hand. It was just pulverized.
That was
Then
kind of
about an
how
hour,
my partners would have to take my hand off the bar. Like I couldn't open my hand back
yeah,
up.
yep. I didn't realize that until about 2 minutes after the lift was over. They were getting my shirt off, and the pain hit me, and I couldn't even stand up on my own.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I couldn't make a fist. I couldn't point. I couldn't do anything. So, um, anyway, yeah, so I was like, well, maybe just maybe it'd be smart to go get it looked at just to be absolutely sure.
Yeah.
It's come out. I've had two X-rays in the last year and a half. The first one was after I benched. I went up to Rob Farrell's gym. He's about 5 hours from us,
Mm-hmm.
and I hit a 1450 from a one board, and I
Jesus.
had some pretty gnarly pain. I was like, maybe that extra 50 pounds is what finally did it. And I went and
Right.
got it looked at. It was clean, so like I had no problems. So yeah, Jericho. He owns Alive by Design Chiropractic down in Fredericksburg,
Mm-hmm.
Virginia, and he did it for me. And yeah, we looked real close, and he took two of them actually on 2 different days, 1 week apart. And they were both clean. I had no problem in the bones. Um, but it was just a frame of mind. I just wanted to be absolutely certain.
Yeah. So do you do intentional forearm work?
Yes. Um, for yeah. So what happened when I started getting up into the 1200s and the 1300s, and then eventually here in the 14 or 14 plus? What was happening was my bench was progressing so fast, but I was completely 100% neglecting my forearms. And saying they were getting hurt is not the right. They weren't getting injured, but they were hurting all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I quickly realized, like, well, they're probably not up to snuff. I haven't worked forearms in a while. So I started like, well, I better start working because this is the most exposed part of your arm during the bench. You've got your wrist wrap right here. You've got your shirt compressed up here.
Right.
This is completely exposed to all the forces. No protection whatsoever. So I started doing a lot of direct, high volume bodybuilder style like forearm work. And the
Such
pain started
as
going
like
away.
like flexion, extension.
Flexion extension, ulnar deviation, radial deviation with maces,
Mm-hmm.
rotational work. A lot of the stuff that arm wrestlers do actually,
Right.
because they got crazy lower arm development.
Yes, they
So I
do.
started doing stuff like that. Yeah, I'm a big Devin Larratt fan. So
Yeah, I want to interview that dude someday. I think that would
I
be
think
fun.
that would be a blast, man. That would be a fucking trip. He's fucking amazing. The Canadian Superman. So I took a lot of what they do and started doing that myself. And then lo and behold, once my forms were back up to snuff, the pain stopped happening. It was this crazy thing. Um, so I've continued that pretty much still to this day. I have one designated day, a day I call my random shit day, where I
Yeah.
throw in like extra works like forearms and grip and biceps and all that other stuff.
I did because I've had a lot of my clients lately. I'm like, dude, how are you guys' wrists so weak? And I go, that's limiting your bench right now. So I'm having everybody do like wrist work now.
Good. Yeah.
I never did much wrist work, but I always focused on my wrist in every other lifts. And I'm finding a lot of people that don't like, they'll do curls and their wrists are like limp. And I'm like, who taught you to do curl? Like, you have to flex your wrist and stay tight.
Yeah. Well, and that one of my basic philosophies, like I said, whenever I like, going to bench 12, 13, and 14, I'm like, I'm trying to get my bench to my absolute best. Why leave something weak? So,
Exactly.
I mean, if everything is capable of benching 1400, but my forearms are not, that's what's going to limit me.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying direct forearm work is the key to bench pressing heavy weight. I'm not saying that at all.
Right.
But it was definitely a support type of work that allowed me to keep pushing to get to that point.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's typical weakest link stuff. If you get to a weight where you can no longer keep your wrist in the right position and it's just bending over, you just changed everything, and you're not going to get the press.
No,
So,
it's everything is relative. Everything is relevant, and training forearms was definitely something I was missing, and I was paying for it with a metric shitload of extra pain that I didn't fucking want.
right.
And I started addressing the problem, and it went away. It was incredible.
So well, you fascinate me in a lot of ways. One of the things that fascinates me is your recovery, like how you're able to continue to recover doing these kind of weights. So when you're getting ready for like a bench meet, how many days a week are you lifting heavy?
5.
Really, you have 5 actual heavy training days.
Yeah. 2 bench, a lower body, 2 bench, a lower body, a upper back, and a random shit. The random shit day is, I guess, it has to be 4 heavy days. The random shit day is not heavy. It's forearms, grip, a little bit of upper back, a little bit of lower body, a little bit of bicep. It's a little extra stuff, but yeah, 4 days a week.
So then,
I train. Yeah.
Like what do you focus on to continue to recover from that?
For the benching, or just the 4 days of heavy stuff?
Just the 4 days of heavy stuff. I mean, your heavy stuff is a whole lot different than most people's heavy stuff.
Yeah. I wish I could answer that. I don't really know. That's just how I've always done it.
I mean, do you like? I just did a post about sleep because I think sleep is so important on so many different levels.
Yes.
I mean, are you like, dude, I'm going to get 8 or 9 hours of sleep every night? Like, do you?
I
really
get
put a
whatever
lot of
my
energy
body
into that?
needs. No, I don't time it. I get good sleep. Maybe it varies. Some nights I'm gonna sleep for 6. Some nights I'm gonna sleep for 7 or 8. Some rare occasions I'll sleep for 9 or 10, which like almost never happens.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't like make a goal to get exactly this amount minimum every night. I go to sleep, and if I wake up and I'm good, I wake up. I just
Okay.
It varies.
I mean, that's interesting though, because even at that, you're like, dude, if my body needs it, it needs it. So I'm gonna do it. Where some people won't even think about it.
No,
where you're listening to your body, and if it needs it, you're like, it needs it. So I'm gonna.
The body is. I mean, Arnold knew that back in the '60s and '70s. Like the body is extremely smart, and so I just kind of let it do its own thing. I mean, if I need 8 hours, I give it 8 hours. If I wake up after 6. And I'm awake and I'm like, wow, I feel great. I'll rip my hose out and I'll get up and start my day. If I need 8, 9, or 10, it varies all the time. I can't track it. I can't plan for it. I just let it do its thing.
Mm-hmm.
However many hours.
Are you pretty good on your nutrition? Like, when I was bigger, I'm like, hey, I want to get 400 grams of protein, and kind of half-assed knew what my calories were, but I'm like, I'm just going to overdo it, and then I know I get enough, and it just means I'm going to shit a lot.
So I do kind of the opposite. I focus more on the calories. Because when I was doing, protein is everything, protein. I was strong, but I wasn't getting leaps and bounds. So then I started listening to Mendy, and some of his early interviews in the 2000s and stuff, and he was big on calorie. He was big on protein, but like he was also really concerned with his calorie intake. I'm like,
Right.
maybe I'm missing something here. So I adopted weight gainers. Now, I mean, I didn't just buy a 6-pound jug. All right, we'll start. No, I bought two 15-pound bags of this shit to start with. I mean, here, we're going to start with this. I started pounding the weight gainer. I started gaining weight, which I'm a hard gainer when it comes to putting on mass, like weight. So
See,
when I
that's
started
funny because
doing the weight gainer.
I didn't know that, and I'll bet a lot of people think that it comes on easy. But I can go on his Instagram because you posted pictures of when you were younger, and you were not a massive dude by any means.
No, I was not. I was not. When I was in my 20s, when I was, doing full power and doing bench, I was 220. I was not massive. When I was in the Marine Corps, I was not massive at all. But to put on weight was extremely hard for me to do. But the weight gainer changed everything. I said, okay, fuck tracking the protein. Let's just focus on calorie intake. And with the calorie intake, that came with protein. Obviously, weight gainers have protein as well. But the calorie was the catalyst to where I started gaining all the weight. I started having these leaps and bounds with my bench. That's what did it. But the combination of the calorie intake, the really good quality sleep, the third thing I would put it as is the introduction to a lot of sodium in my diet. Those three things combined.
So the sodium actually helped with your recovery?
Maybe not the recovery, but more of the performance. Mm-hmm. So the other two, the calories, I think all three combined are performance and recovery because high calories, I have a lot of energy. High calories and protein, I recover good. I recover good with the sleep. The sodium, I'm not going to make it say it's a recovery supplement, but for performance reasons, holy shit, dude! Like the sodium changed my life for the better.
So I know Stan Efferding. I started doing more salt after hearing from him. Do you do it before you train? I do before and after.
I do it all day. So I have my gorgeous Chad Ike's canteen that you gave me that's now completely covered. But this is my sodium canteen. So I fill it up in the morning, and I use the Element package that Dave Tate was sponsored by.
Right.
So I take 2 Element packets in the morning. I fill this up, and I add 2 packets, which is 2,000 milligrams or 2 grams of sodium, and I just drink it all day. So my daily and my overall weekly intake of sodium is extremely high, or higher than it ever has been. So I just drink it all day. I'm not only just sitting on the couch drinking. So I've got water, I've got other things, but like my goal is from when I wake up till I go to sleep is to get that canteen empty by consistently drinking it throughout the entire day.
Right. So how many do you know exactly how many calories you're shooting for?
Food combined with the weight gainer, I'd say it just might shock people. I'm not taking in like what some of these strongmen are claiming. I'd say on the low end, 4.5 to 5, and maybe on the high end between 6 and 6.5, like at the most. It's not.
Yeah, it's not asinine. I hear guys say they're doing 10, and I'm like, are you really doing 10? 10,000 is a lot of food.
Well, then some strongmen are saying they take 12 to 15,000 calories, and I'm thinking, you've got to be kidding me. There's no way.
Unless I was eating packages of Little Debbie, I don't think I'd have enough hours in the day to actually get in that many calories of a halfway decent food.
You would do nothing but eat from the time you woke up to the time you went to sleep. There's no fucking way. So no, really, it's
not crazy. I mean, 6 or 7 is quite a bit. Like for me, that would be quite a bit. But that's not crazy. That's not, to me, that's not insane.
No,
I think there's a lot of, especially if you're training 5 days a week and with the weights that you train and how intense you train, that doesn't seem out of hand to me.
No, it's not. It's manageable. And it's, I love eating. I enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. But you know, I'm not force feeding to get 8, 9, 10,000. I eat a lot. If I always tell people, if you can't eat your calories, you got to drink them. So
Yeah.
I'm eating or I'm drinking shakes, and I average, like I said, between 4.5 to 6.5, just right in that range every day, and I'm good to go. That's what's optimal for me.
Right.
It seems that way.
And you've held your weight pretty stable for quite a while now, haven't you?
Yeah. What at my heaviest, which was a mistake, I was it was November of last year. Yeah, it was November of last year. No, I'm sorry, November of 21. November of 21. I was 342 pounds. But that was a bloated, salt, swollen 342. I couldn't walk.
Yeah.
I would take 5 steps and find something to lean on and catch my breath, and take 5 steps and lean on something else. It was absolutely atrocious. I had reached the point of diminishing return,
Yes.
because November of 21, I was still benching single ply. I was at York, and I attempted the single ply poly. I attempted 1070, 1140, 1150. None of them touched. I could not touch 1150 in a single ply katana because I was so bloated. And I was so bloated, I couldn't even, when I got the hand off, I couldn't take any air. I was like, so I had to hope that I had enough air from when I took it out of the rack to bring it down. It was just a bad day. So yeah, I'm floating around 328 to 330 on a normal basis for the last about a year, I'd say.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty consistent, yeah. Yeah,
Interesting.
it's held pretty steady.
So I'm gonna bring up the drug issue because you're clean.
Sure. Huh?
And I actually respect that, but I think it's funny though. I think I was clean for a long, long time. The reason I went on is we found out I had low testosterone. I kept getting really sick. And then when I went on, I was like, well, screw it. I'm going to play with it because I'm doing it anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, I put up 24 something clean, like 2470 or 2460.
That's a lot.
Lifetime drug free.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to me, and I'm kind of getting around to what your thoughts are on it. To me, it's more or less like when people said I wasn't clean when I was like, cool, dude, you complimented me because you believe it's impossible for me to do what I did.
Yeah.
And I did it clean. So that's actually that's the greatest compliment in the world. I did something that's so cool. You can't believe it.
Yes.
And at the same time, I go, man, you people you're making excuses for not being better. Like, I know a lot of guys that use drugs, and I just don't know anybody that's great just because of the drugs. And I'm not even sure how much it actually helps them. I think if they would take a little time off or like back off training a little bit and take a little more time. Like, I think the biggest thing steroids do is help you recover and maybe shorten the length of time to get to a certain point. I think if you're patient and you're clean, you can get there too.
You're speaking my language. That's exactly what I've done. Nobody told me it was going to take almost 2 decades to get to where I'm at.
Right.
You know, but it has. I've been training for 19 years, competing for 15. Next year will mark that 20-year mark in May. Next year will be 20 years. I truly, and that's the thing. People need to open their minds a little bit to what is actually humanly possible without the drugs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now I'm not benching like 1,000 pounds raw. You know, I'm not doing anything astronomical outside the gear. You know, but like, yeah, it doesn't bug me. Now, I purposely entered the amateur division at this last meet where I benched 14 on purpose to get drug tested. So when you go to open powerlifting, you do your little filters and you find unlimited bench, heaviest of all time, drug tested my 1400s up there because I
I didn't know
purposely
that,
wanted.
but I think that's cool.
Yeah, I purposely took the test because I wanted to prove something.
Like I honestly don't give a shit either way. If you want to
I
do them,
that's a,
cool. If you don't, cool.
yeah,
But like
that's
when I was competing, I would do like when I first started, I was I was clean, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to compete drug free. And I started looking at the drug free records, and I'm like, this is bullshit. Like these records suck. And I mean, I was doing AWPC and AAPF, which was the clean version of APF and WPC.
yeah,
So those were huge
yep,
at the time.
yep.
And then even as I got better, I'm like, fuck this, dude. Every meet I go to, I'm breaking world records. Like, I want to compete against the guys on drugs.
Yeah.
So I would try to split it up. And 1 year I would do the drug tested just to bump the records up to tell people, like, quit being pussies. Like, you can be better. Stop using this as an excuse. And then I would go compete with the guys on drugs because I wanted to challenge. I wanted to beat them too.
Yeah. Yep. No, dude, like people get it twisted. They think I'm against them. But I'm not at all. And we've had me and Kate have had the discussion. Like if I get to the point naturally when my body literally says you're done, you can go no further. You have reached your natural limit. We are okay with taking that path. We're both on the same page. After all these years of, she was more or less like never, never, never. The more we've talked about it, the more we've been around people that have done it or people that talk about it. We're like, fuck it, it'd be fine. So we're okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not against them. I have just never done it. So that's the thing. I'm not like purposely lifetime drug free, even though I am lifetime drug free. I haven't done it for the reason of solely being against it. I've just not done it.
Yeah.
See. No, I've got tons of friends all over the states, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Virginia that I've been to and lifted with that are all that do it or don't. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I don't think I would have went on except that we found out because I kept getting these rashes and I kept getting sick. And the last time I got sick, I lost like 12 pounds in a day. And the only thing they could find out was my testosterone was so low. They're like, your immune system's screwed.
Yeah.
Like, so we went on and I never got sick again.
Well, that's fantastic.
And so then it was like, well, okay, if I'm doing it, like I might as well. I started actually asking people, and I'm like, wait a minute, everything I thought isn't really true.
Yeah.
So that's when I'm like, I'm going to play with it. And even then, I still never did anywhere near what. Like when I talk to the European guys, they're like, dude, you're basically clean. I'm like, okay, how much are you doing?
Yeah.
But my biggest thing was like, no, I just want it to be that like, you don't have to do it. So don't use that as an excuse for not being good.
And on that subject, I reached an impasse. I'm not sure if that's the right word. I reached I had an epiphany. And so I've done 14. I've done it clean. And my people ask me like, what's the end all be all goal number? I tell them it's 1,500. So let's say in the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I get 1,500. I've done it drug free.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to become the 65-year-old man, hopefully still in the gym or somewhere involved in the sport like Louis was, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't want to be 65 years old and regret, say, never doing them. This is the one path. So say I'm 65 years old, I never did them, and regret, I got to 1,500, but man, if I had just done a year or two of synthetics, maybe I could have benched 1,600, or maybe I could have done have that regret. Or the other direction, be 65, having done them at some point, and then regretting doing them because of maybe some adverse health side effects. I just don't. I see negativity both ways.
Right.
Do I never do it, but never see how far I could actually go, regardless of drug free or not? Or do I do them, but then regret it down the line? You see what I'm saying? I don't know. Yeah. It's so.
It would be interesting. See, like part of my brain does similar to what you're doing. I'm going, dude, what could he do if he wasn't?
See,
but then knowing, I know like 3 or 4 guys that were like me and put up huge numbers clean.
Mm-hmm.
And then we went on, and it's not like we made these big jumps. Like I argue with Tate a few times we've argued about this, where he's like, "You made a big jump," and I'm like, "No, I didn't." I go track my meets. Like I did 2460 clean. Then my next meet was like 2525, and then I like if you track it, I basically just kept going the way I was going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so like once you get so strong, is it really going to help you? And like I tell people all the time, like I don't give a shit if you do it or don't. I go, first of all, I'm not an expert on it because I didn't go that deep into it. I go, but learn as much as you can without it.
Yeah.
Like learn to auto-regulate yourself, learn to feel your body. Like it's a sports enhancing drug. It enhances. The more you can get before you go on it, the better it's going to be.
And that you still have to be, you have to have knowledge. You have to know how to train and what's best for your body.
Yeah.
Then that the synthetics, I guess, enhance what you already know or do.
They can. Like I see a lot of guys that overtrain already. Then they go on drugs and they're like, I'm going on drugs. I can train even more. It's like, no, just keep training like you're training. And go on and see what happens. Like, don't change anything.
So that's the conundrum I'm at. I'm like, man, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I turned 33 in May, so like I still have some time.
Yeah, you haven't even hit your peak yet.
Yeah?
No, most strength athletes peak in their late 30s.
Late 30s?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like that, like as far as muscle maturity and stuff goes, there's a lot of guys put up their best numbers between like 36, 37 to 40. If they can stay healthy.
Yeah. Oh, cool. I got something to look forward to.
You still have time, yes.
Sweet. Good.
So my other question is, like, I know you're a little stiff. Do you, as a bench presser, do you worry much about shoulder mobility and flexibility? Or you, like, how do you look at that?
Okay. Well, let's see. Short answer, no, because I'm just doing this. I don't have to. I don't do overhead work. I don't do incline work really. So no, I don't need or have the desire to do any kind of mobility. The closest thing to mobility that I have done is just Donnie Thompson shoulder protocol, which I used to warm up with the bands, with the rotations and the whatevers for getting the soft tissue ready for the abuse you're about to put it through for the bench. Now, when I started doing some straight bar squats, just a straight bar squat for this, for the sake of whatever, I had to address the shoulder immobility because for the last, I benched my first 1,000 in 2020. So for the last 3 years, I mean, if you told me to put a bar on my back, I would not have been, you couldn't pay me to fucking do it. I did not have the capabilities to even humor the idea of putting it on my back. So I wanted to start doing some straight bar squats, just, because, and so I had to actually address that issue. So my Jericho, my friend from down south here at the chiropractic clinic, he gave me one stretch to do. Now he also worked with Ray Williams, and Ray Williams is a gigantic individual and has trouble getting underneath the bar. So he gave us the same stretch to do for the shoulder mobility. So I've addressed it a little bit, not for the sake of benching, but just for the sake of having the capabilities to get a bar on my back. So in that instance, yes. But for bench pressing, I had no fucking worry whatsoever.
And have you had any major injuries?
No. Well, let's see. 2 that I can recall, both happened while I was in the Marines. So the first one, I was at Fort Lee, and for PT and at 4 a.m, our instructor liked to do planks. That's just what he liked to do. So we did planks all the time. So one morning we were doing planks for a long time, and I had like my tits were like quivering, like, oh boy, that was a lot of planks, but cool, And then through the school day, I was at the schoolhouse at the time. I got over it. I felt like, okay, I'm better. Went to go bench that afternoon. I was middle enlistment. I was just benching raw. I was benching 3 plates. And my second set of like 8, I felt a crunch on my left pec. I was like, oh shit. I racked it. I had the capability to still press it and rack it. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. Unloaded the weights. I went back to the dorm or the barracks. God, Jesus Christ, barracks. Went back to my room. I had no discoloration. I had no bruising. I had no swelling. I think I ruptured the fascia. If I were to guess,
Yeah.
because I felt or heard a audible crunch, and I couldn't do push-ups. I lost a lot of it was extremely painful. Couldn't pick up my laundry out of the dryer, but I had no visible sign that anything was wrong. So I think I ruptured the fascia once because of that. And then again, mid enlistment, I was benching, and I was at a garbage ass gym here in Virginia called the Shop. And I ended up dumping 405 on my chest from full lockout.
Oh.
I wasn't wearing wrist straps like a fucking idiot. I did 1 rep, and then it just fell out of my hands. Came down, bounced, came down a second time. Felt like I got hit by a fucking truck. I mean, hearing the sound of a barbell free falling is one of my nightmarish sounds because of that sound, and then it was on my chest, and it knocked the wind out of me. I fractured both ribs up here.
Oh, yeah.
It took my thumb with it, fractured my thumb, pulverized all my soft tissue. Couldn't sneeze. I couldn't get out of bed by myself. Couldn't get in my car by myself for like 6 months. So that's it. That's the most that's happened to me.
So now this brings me back to the subject we were just talking about. You just benched 1,400 pounds. I've seen you do crazy lifts in all kinds of gear. I've seen you do crazy raw, like not maxing out, but like doing a crazy amount of weight for some insane amount of reps.
Uh-huh.
You have the least injuries of maybe any bench presser of any decent size that I know.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if that has to do with the drugs, not being on the drugs. Because I can say when I went on drugs, I started getting a lot more injuries. Like I started getting more muscle tears, and it's hard to say, was it the drugs? Was it because I just kept getting stronger and I kept getting more wear and tear, and my sleep sucks? I mean, it's hard to say, but I do see a lot of guys when they go on, because I think it's because the muscles grow so fast, but tendons, ligaments, fascia, none of that other shit can really grow as quickly as the muscle can.
See, I never thought of that. I always just attributed it to just being an equipped lifter for the last 15 years. So I was just thinking the equipment was keeping me safe. I never thought about that.
I've seen people do some crazy shit in gear, still get hurt crazy.
I never thought of that. I never thought of that. Huh.
It's one of them rabbit holes we probably can't find the answer to, but it's an interesting thing to think about.
Yeah, no, dude, I mean, I get knots once in a while, and I get rid of them. I mean, I get sore, I get pains, I get twinges, but like, never torn a pec, never blown out a shoulder, never tore a bicep, never nothing. I mean, it's just relative stuff. You know, I guess my elbows get sore, get twingy, kind of gummed up, but like, yeah, nothing major besides those 2 things I told you about that were pretty stupid. But like, yeah, as far as actual training goes, no, I've been pretty fortunate to never have a major injury.
That's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cool. I don't know.
My brain's rolling through ideas right now.
Yeah, no, I just always tell people I have used equipment for the last 15 years, and the equipment is designed. I mean, yeah, we use it to lift more weight with the benefit of avoiding injury, whereas the original idea was the exact opposite. You know, not getting hurt with the benefit of lifting more weight. It's obviously switched, but like that's what I've always attributed it to.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen. I mean, it does help, but I've seen a lot of people tear. I mean, I've torn hamstrings and shit with my gear on, and I'm not sure. I think all my pec tears were with no gear.
Yeah,
I've had a lot of pec tears.
Yeah, you did. How many?
1, 2, 3, 4, at least 5.
Just no ruptures, right? Just like belly tears.
Yeah, just belly tears. I've never ripped anything off the bone. My tendons and ligaments have been awesome, but I've torn just about every muscle in my body at some point or another.
Yeah.
But none of that happened until I went on.
Mm-hmm.
I had no injuries until I went on.
Doesn't what are the fucking the shit influencers all take? Tren is a popular one.
Yeah, trends are really.
I've heard that Tren is absolutely horrific for you. It dries out all of your connective tissue, and people tear shit all the time.
Yeah, there's a couple Winstrol's. I think Winstrol's one that dries you out really good too.
Yeah, I know Tren's really popular.
Yeah, I mean they do. You can actually. I mean, if you like, even if you're not doing a lot of if you're not doing drugs and you go on test, it's almost like you can flex harder. And I don't know if it really gives strength as much as it just the ability to flex harder. It's a weird feeling. It's hard to explain.
Okay. That's it. That's I mean, it's a whole world I don't know a lot about, so it's all interesting to me.
Yeah, it's one of those I posted a reel this morning or this afternoon where I was kind of talking about it was more about sleep, and mentality. I think I keep seeing a lot of lifters now that will find they're like, I like Jimmy Kolb. I'm going to train like Jimmy Kolb. I'm going to do what he does. And they kind of miss, they're going to the things that for me seem less important, and they're missing the low hanging fruit that I think is really important. First of all, if you're going to go to a top lifter, don't ask what he's doing right now. Ask what he was doing when he was in your position. And then even more important than what his training is, what his favorite exercise is, to me, when I was at my height and I knew all the top strong men of all kinds of different sports, I remember the most common thing I could find was their mentality. Even they may have had shitty regular lives, but when it came to lifting, they had this invincible, unstoppable positivity. And even if they didn't know how they were going to do it, they're like, I'm going to do this. And I mean, they didn't just say it, they felt it. They felt it inside. And I'm instead of looking at the programs, because everyone I knew lifted different.
Yes.
I'm competing with the top, strongest super heavyweights in the world. There's 15 of us at the WPO or whatever. Every single one of us does different stuff.
Yep. So
how can there be one program? And that's where I was like, what's the common things here?
Yeah. Well, one of my favorite YouTube channels is called the Strength Archives, and y'all are in there quite a bit. It's got a lot of archival footage from the 2000s and 90s. Multiply.
Might have to go check that out.
Dude, it's called the Strength Archives, and there's 2006 WPO finals. And I can watch that every fucking day of my life. It's like some Europeans I can't remember, but it's you, Mike Miller, Jeff Lewis, Andy Bolton, just all the guys I used to just follow when I was a kid, all doing their squats, and you're all squatting 1,000 plus, 1,100 plus, and I think Jeff Lewis in that one went to 12,
15 or something like that. I think.
Yeah. I'm not sure they're announcing the number. You just kind of sometimes there's a little number on the screen, but it's called the Strength Archives, and there's just archival footage of West Side and WPO and all these guys. But it's just interesting because you say that you're all up there doing the same thing, kind of all squatting very similar. There's slight differences, but I know you all train different. You're from all different walks of life, different gyms, different areas. for a same common goal. But yeah, there's not one damn way to do things. There's so many different ways to do things, but the mentality is something that I've always been strong with. And luckily for me, I mean not luckily for me, I've spent most of my career only concerned with me and my goals and what I want to get out of the sport. I didn't chase people. I didn't like have a Mark Bell kill list where I was like, I had to beat him and scratches and just chase people and chase their numbers and beat him. Because once you reach the top, you have nobody else to beat. If you spent your whole life just doing that, then what else is there?
Yeah, what do you do then?
What do you do? But like, luckily for me, there's been my goals, and there's always something more. So even as I'm sitting here where I'm at now, I'm kind of already over that. 1.4K. I'm kind of over it already. It's like, well, what's next? What's the next cool thing I want to do? So I've always had that to my advantage.
I think
there's always something more.
I think I was always. That's actually one of my T-shirts. There's always more. I never really cared about beating a specific person.
Yes.
Like I was looking, even when I first started, I'm like, oh, there's a top 100 list. All right, how do I break into the 100? Okay, how do I break into 75? How do I break into 50? And then it was like, what's the best number? And then like with my world records, like I had my first WPO meet, I broke the 3-lift bench world record.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, well, you just broke the record. And I'm like, I don't care. I can do more.
Yes.
I don't give a shit what the record is. It was about me the whole time. I was just looking at the other numbers, and it's like, well, what can I do?
Yeah. I mean, I've taken inspiration. Don't get me wrong. I mean, there's been times where I'm like, I want that record, or he did this. I want to go right above it. I'm human. That has happened to me before, but that's not been my only sole purpose for doing this shit. It's been purely for what I want.
And see, I think that's one of those things. If there's kids out there going, oh man, I love Jimmy Kolb. Okay, well, don't focus on how Jimmy Kolb trains necessarily.
Yeah.
Like focus on the things about him that got him there. Yes. Because I'm sure your training has changed over the years too.
Oh yeah, it's morphed. It's I don't do. Oh yeah, no. Even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it's morphed over and over and over because we're changing. We're getting older. Things are different. Circumstances change. Goals are different. I always like to say, like, if you only ever do method A, that will get you result A. But that will not get you result B, C, D, E, or F. You got to do method B or C or E. You have to change your, what works for method A or goal A might not get you to your next goal or the next goal or the next goal. You always have to change and do things different and find out what you're not good at or what you suck at.
Right.
Find out your weaknesses. And if you know yourself well enough, I'm pretty good at self-regulating. I know what I need. I know what works, what doesn't. Okay, I missed this. I missed that. Why did I miss that? Okay, I know the reason. I can identify those things and then address the problem.
I think that's another common one too, is in the top lifters is auto-regulating themselves.
Yeah.
I mean, even to guys like me where I look back and go, I did not auto-regulate to the level I should have, but I was still doing it.
Yes.
And most of the top guys are doing it to some extent. Could they be better? Yeah. But, that's one of those things I think young lifters need to learn too. I mean, because I'm all about, I think you can look up to guys and that's cool, but look up to the right things about them.
Yeah. I mean, and to this day, I mean, one of my heroes is and will always be like Ryan Kennelly.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I tried to do what he was doing. I was young and influential. I was 16, 17, 18. I'm like, well, Ryan, he's training like this. I better train like him. They got me nowhere, So I wish I could go back to a reality. It doesn't work that way. But if I could go back and talk to teenage me, I would say, hey, just, what works for you. You are different than every other fucking person on the planet. We all need different, unique things because we're all different. So just even if nobody else in the world trains like you're doing, keep fucking doing it because you're getting results and it's
Yes.
working for you. Keep doing that.
And that's all that
Take
matters. That's all that matters. Is it working for you? Yeah.
take inspiration from other people and always be learning. I'm still learning shit to this day. I'll hopefully always will be, but ultimately find out what works for you as your unique individual self.
I got almost 40 years in lifting weights and I still get excited. And one of the reasons I do this podcast is I'm a little selfish. I mean, I want to give people good information, but part of it is me. Like I still like talking to top athletes and what tips can I get? Not so much for me anymore, but for my clients and stuff. Cause there's still so much to learn in my mind.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think there
I
always
got, I
will
got a,
be.
dude, I've got a crew ranging in age from 18 to 52. I hope Chris doesn't hear this. I think he's 52. Late 40s, early 50s. I can't remember how old Chris is, but and I learn stuff from the entire spectrum of the age that I have in my crew. I don't know everything. I can still improve and learn stuff.
Yeah.
Even now, you know.
Or I find too that somebody will bring something up and I'm like, oh shit, I fucking forgot about that. That was a great exercise.
Yes,
Because there's so much stuff. How do you keep track of it and memorize it all?
Dude, yeah, no, I love that. I'll get messages. I'll get people on my Patreon to comment stuff or send me videos like, "Hey, I saw you do it like this. Hey, I did it like this." I'm like, I've never seen that before. Holy shit, I'm going to give that a try. Because I mean, even if something can bring me 1/4% of improvement at my level, that's huge.
Yeah.
Big.
Oh, I remember times of learning like one little, an hour conversation, but I learned this one little thing that was so huge to helping me out.
Yes.
And even today, when we were talking about wrist things earlier, I trained wrist earlier before we got on. And I saw this on Instagram where somebody took a band and ran it across their power rack. And then they would grab a hold of it at like a 90 degree and then twist.
Oh.
And I've always used like maces or I use my shoulder rock.
Yeah.
To do that and grabbing the band and twisting. And I'm like, holy shit, I like this.
Well, tomorrow is Thursday, my random shit day, and I do forearms on Thursdays, so I might have to try that now.
Yeah, it was really interesting. And my first thought is, okay, I need to get a piece of PVC, cut it so I can loop it through the PVC, and then I have a PVC handle, and then I can twist that handle against that band. And I thought this is, and I liked it. It was the first time I did it tonight, and I go, ooh, this is cool. I can't wait to do this to some of my clients.
And in power rack for wrist.
Yeah, I just looped it across. Rotation. I put my hooks at the right height, stretched the band across it, and you basically just grab that band and try to twist it.
Yeah, I just texted that to Case so I don't forget. That's fucking dope, man. I'm going to try that
I was
tomorrow.
like, that's so easy, too.
That's so fucking cool. Hell yeah, because I always use the mace, the maces to do those rotations.
Yeah, and it's a different feeling.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Weight versus band. I mean, just like accommodating resistance and any other lift. I mean, yeah, I'm doing that shit tomorrow. Fuck yeah.
I did it. I did it supinated and pronated both ways.
Oh, so you switch. You do. Yeah, I got you.
I would do my 10 this way and then grab it and then do 10 the other way.
Fantastic. Oh, all right. That's a done deal.
It was interesting.
I'm gonna do that shit.
Like I'm like 40 years and I still see shit that I go, dude, that's cool. Why didn't I think of that?
There are, as much as I don't want to admit it sometimes, but there are benefits to social media, some social media platforms, and people can put some interesting shit out there.
Yeah.
Different training methods, different ways to do exercises, and most of it's crap or just regurgitated.
Mm-hmm.
Just this asinine shit. But like once in a while I find something and I'm like, oh, taking that one.
Well, I think there's definitely, and I have this with like some of my online clients are like, why will I like a variety of exercises? And I go, well, a variety of exercises is fine. Mm-hmm. But a lot of time, you know how many bench presses I've done in my life? Like you know how many curls I've done in my life? You know how many dumbbell rollback extensions I've done? Like, there's only so many goddamn exercises.
Yes.
You know, and there's nothing wrong with doing the same exercises a lot. I don't see anything wrong with that. At the same note, people react to different exercises, and there's nothing wrong with changing it up as long as you're changing it up with good exercises.
And if it brings benefit, if it brings good benefit.
And I think, like you said with social media, I think a lot of people they're just trying to come up with something different for their content. Yeah. And it's like, no, I don't want to see something different for your content. I want to see something that actually works.
Yes.
It's a good exercise.
Nope. Yeah, there's one interesting one that I found. I can't. Oh, for God, I'm not going to remember. The guy started every video. He owns a gym, and every video he would start with, he says, "Welcome to lore." So it's like lore fitness or lore something, but like, and he put out these different exercise variations. And the one I only remember it being, it's not called a punch press. It's with dumbbells. But that's how I remember it. So instead of pressing this way and maybe twisting at the top a little bit for a contraction for the chest, you start the press here and you punch. You twist this way instead. And that turned on the pecs in a different way. That was, oh, gee, that's fucking awesome.
Right.
So like those little things, but like, yeah, that was an interesting page.
Kind of like the old Meta Militia guys used to bench like that.
Oh, they did. Oh, then see,
they would when they came down, they would try to twist and like say you're bending the bar up,
right?
And then they would try to turn all the way when they came up back out.
Yeah, a corkscrew motion from tuck to flared. Yeah, yep, absolutely.
It's interesting, and it's like the more I'm into this, the more I don't know if I get bored with programming. But it's like, okay, you program. Like, it's not that fucking complicated. Like, more important is, are you auto-regulating yourself and listening to your body? Is your technique good? Do you have a good mind-muscle connection? Like, when you're doing an exercise, are you actually working the muscles that the exercise was designed or that your coach has you doing it for? Like, I need to put a list together of all the exercises I did all the years I was competing. Because I'll bet you it's less than 40. I mean, I did a lot. You know, it's glute ham raises, reverse hypers.
Yeah.
You know, dumbbell rollback extensions. Like, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I did every fucking week. The whole time.
I mean, I've really I've spent years. I would give a movement, you know, a good 3 or 4 months, or a chain, like benching, instead of benching here, or benching, you know, here.
Right.
I'd give it an honest 3 to 4 months to see if it actually would do anything. And not just a week, fuck that. No, I'd give it an honest shot. I'd give it 3 or 4 months. And if it didn't yield anything for me, okay, I would push it to the side, move on to the next thing. You know, so, but yeah, so if you take the amount, I mean, 30, 40, 50 different movements, and I'll give them all about 3 to 4 months apiece, a little bit of love for each one. That's a long time to spend weeding out what does or does not work.
And like you said, like a little difference. Like I have 3 different versions of JM presses that I really like to do.
Okay.
It's all still a JM. It's just little different tweaks to it.
Have you ever done them on incline?
No, but I did start doing roll bell dumb back extensions on an incline because of you.
Okay. That for some reason, dude, I don't know. I can't explain what it is or why it is. But when I do JMs on incline, I couldn't save either one of my balls to properly perform a JM press on flat. I just can't fucking do it. I don't know why. I don't care. But on incline, I would just, instead of about a medium, close grip, instead of bringing the bar to my chest, I just started bringing the bar to my chin. And then immediately I was like, oh, well, there it is. It just clicked. For some reason, I started doing them on incline, and it's a brutal, awesome tricep.
I'm going to try it.
It's awesome.
So when you do them flat, do you go to your clavicle or do you go to your chest?
The last time I did one was 3-4 years ago. I was doing I watched JM's tutorial on it when he was young and didn't have the beard, right? And the glasses. And I was okay, 45 degrees. Okay, cant the wrist forward like a praying mantis and
Yes.
thumbless. And I tried it here. It just never clicked. It's had absolutely 0% to do with my bench progress, but the incline variation where I'm just lowering it to my chin, again, not, doing the cant like this, lowering it to my chin or my nose, that clicked. So I stuck to it. And I that's one of my absolute staples with my tricep training is incline JM.
That's interesting. I'm going to try that with my clients tomorrow.
It's a good shit. It's so simple. It's just instead of bringing it to your chest, bring it to your
that's
face.
kind of the funny thing. You can do little tweaks, and all of a sudden now you have that mind muscle connection,
Yep.
and you're actually hitting the muscle you want really solidly.
Yes, I got that's the movement I did leading up to my initial single ply bench that I did back in 21 was 1,050. And I was doing those JM inclines all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I did them all the time. It got brutally strong. On the same note, just flip it around, that's the movement that actually hurt me. So, okay, there's another injury I didn't mention was my elbow. And I tell this story all the time on my lives and stuff, but I hurt my elbow doing incline JM press 10 days before I was going to Belmar, New Jersey, and I benched 1,050 that day. But I went into the gym on a Wednesday.
What did it do to your elbow, though?
Never got it diagnosed. All I know is I started the workout. I was like, I'm going to make this like a tricep fucking sleigh fest, just an absolute tricep destroyer. I'm going to start with incline JMs. That's the mistake I made. I didn't warm up with a pressing motion.
Mm-hmm.
I just went straight into incline JMs. It wasn't the heavyweight that hurt me. I was on a down set. I was doing a down set with 2 plates. 2 sets of 8 was the goal. The first set, no problem whatsoever. I rested for a few minutes. Second set, 5th rep, ooh, that kind of hurts. 6th rep, okay, that definitely hurts. 7th rep, oh fuck. Like a knife went in here and out the other side. I was like, oh shit. Oh, I just fucked up. Now, and I tested it on Saturday. Somehow, some way, I could still bench equipped. I don't know how. Just for some reason, benching equipped did not hurt it. But I couldn't take 1 plate on a pulley machine. I couldn't extend 1 plate. I couldn't take a 5-pound dumbbell and extend it. I couldn't do any kind of extension work whatsoever. It hurt that bad. And it didn't heal till about July of the same year. So 7 months.
Wow.
But the only 2 things that I could do was shirted bench and reverse grip. Again, can't explain how, but the reverse grip with the elbow position didn't hurt it, didn't irritate it. So all I did from January, after I benched 1,050, till July, I subsequently did 1050, 1080, 1120, 1060 in that 7-month span. I only did shirted bench and reverse grip bench. That's all I did. My bench kept going up. So
interesting. That's so
kind of a short, long story, but so love the JM press on incline. However, it did hurt me 2 years ago, and I had to not do any tricep work for 7 months except for reverse grip benching.
But then you've been doing it heavy for a while again.
Yeah, so I started reintroducing it about 6 months ago. I started doing like the bar, a quarter, then a plate after a couple of weeks. Now I'm back up to like working weights above 3 plates, kind of where I was before when I heard it initially 2 years ago. But I had to really take my time. I was like, I don't want to fucking do that shit again. That hurt.
That's interesting though, because I was just on the round table with Dave, or table talk.
Yeah,
I keep wanting to say round table, and we ended up like I started messing around with some HIIT training and modifying it for strength,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm seeing really good results with everybody and with myself. And Dave brought up one point and he's like, well, maybe it's the change. And I went, ooh, that's true. Like, it's hard to tell. Is something working because it's good, or is it just because it's a change?
Yeah.
Like, a lot of times, if you're stuck, just completely change your training up. And that alone can boost you.
Yeah. That's I don't know, dude. I could go down so many routes with that one, but yeah, change is absolutely a good thing. And I finally I had one of these younger kids come up to me. I don't get talked to very often at our gym. It doesn't
Really?
happen, but well,
That's because you're so
nope.
mean. You're so mean looking.
I mean, I don't put off a very friendly vibe. I don't think
I
I
don't know.
kind of do
I think you got a 12-year-old like happy. Look at you smile.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I have my group, I have my friends, I've got my people I care about, and that's kind of all I care about. So when I go to the gym,
You're doing your
I don't
thing.
really, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
really care about a lot. If here's the thing, like if somebody approaches me, I will talk.
Right.
I will never approach somebody and talk to them. That's
Right.
just the way I am. You have to come to me. So they don't do that. They don't come to me. But one of them finally did 5 or 6 months ago. SBD type training mentality, just SBD
Mm-hmm.
5 days a week, and just asking some questions. I'm like, oh, I'll answer your questions, no problem, bud. What's going on? And I said, you have got to change what you're doing. You do SBD 5 days a week. Your body has long since adapted to that shit, and you are not going to see progress. You have
Mm-hmm.
got to change what you're doing. So that was just a short, funny story. So I finally broke through to one of them, and then it was funny because then I think he told everybody else what I had said, and then all of a sudden they were doing things like squatting with the SSB at random. So, oh yeah, change up what you're doing once in a while. You get some benefit from that.
I always use because I'm so blue collar, um, like so many carpenters and mechanics in my family. I always use the example of a carpenter. I'm like, have you ever seen a carpenter whose forearms are like just as big as somebody's leg? They're like, no. I go, yeah, because he gets strong enough to swing a hammer 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
And it stops. Yeah, his forearms are probably stronger than most people. And my dad, like, one of the things I could never beat my dad at fucking arm wrestling. Pissed me off. Even when I outbenched him, I couldn't beat him at arm wrestling. It sucked.
Yeah.
So he had a strong forearm, but it's only going to grow to a certain extent. If you're not continually
Yes.
testing it and pushing it,
Yes.
you're going to stay the same.
And I mean, I don't look like a bodybuilder, but man, I am constantly concerned with and trying to build muscle.
Mm-hmm.
Always, always, always. Any trick, any combination, any superset, anything I can do to make it different and more difficult. Because to get extraordinary results, you got to do extraordinary things.
Yes.
And sometimes that fucking just sucks. Like for my back days on Tuesdays, oh Jesus, I just know how hard it's going to be. I'll get in the gym and I'll just sit down somewhere and just go like, oh Jesus Christ, just sit there, prepare myself for a few minutes because I know how hard it's going to be because it has to be.
Yes.
And because that's the only way I'm going to improve, especially after being lifting for 19 years. Like I'm not just going to have newbie gains; those are long since gone.
Yeah.
I always got to do something different or more intense or different order or just superset instead of a normal set. Like all the time, changing all the time, always adapting.
Have you ever, and this is probably of no relevance other than interesting to me, do you have kind of a year by year where your bench press has gone?
You mean
Like a graph of like, here's where Jimmy Kolb's first bench press in high school to
oh
like it would be I was pretty close to putting 100 pounds on my total for 10 years. And it was pretty equivalent when I tracked it out. almost within a couple months, I would put 100 pounds on my total from the year before. 100 pounds, 100 pounds, 100 pounds.
The only time I can really recall seeing like a trackable like uh, average gain of about 100 pounds. I remember benching when I benched 700 at 19 years old. Exactly 1 year later at 20, I benched 8, so 100 pounds in a year. And then at 21, I benched 900.
Mm-hmm.
So I went from 7 to 9 in 3 short years, 19, 20, 21. And then it'd be so that kind of stopped. And then it would be 2 more years at 23 years old before I would bench 950, which was at the Arnold in 2014. That was a cool fucking meet. That was one of my favorite meets of all time. So no, but now fast forward, now I had like a stint where I was kind of not competing. I was in the military for a quick minute. So yeah, but I got back into it. I came back to the scene and got immediately my first successful lift was 1,035. So there's definitely not been 100-pound jumps though. It's been 1035, 1050, 1080, 1120. I guess there's so 1120 to 1225. Just a couple 100-pound jumps.
Well, I'm talking 100 pounds on my total, so that's between all 3 lifts.
Yeah.
I think it's more interesting for people to know, like, because I think there's a large group of novice lifters that have really big misconceptions of how fast they should be gaining strength.
Oh shit! I mean, so if you want to go as far back as when I first started at 14, so in 2004 was when I picked up my first weight. I was benching 100. So it's taken me 19 years almost to the date to go from 100 pounds to 1,400. With relative, different gains and leaps and bounds and stuff.
So
but
that
I've
would be so that would be 100 pounds a year. 100 pounds to 14. Didn't you say it was 14 years? I mean, that's including old. Adding gear, different gear from raw to gear and all this other shit. I mean, but still, I mean, that's like you didn't get this overnight. It's not like people can't go, here's just a genetic bench press. They're like, well, maybe he did have some genetics, but he put in a shit ton of work, like in a shit ton of time.
Oh, dude, and I tell people are so excited, especially with the advent of the band shirts coming out. Everybody wants to bench 1,000 pounds. But I tell people, okay, you benched 6 at your last meet, bro. You're not gonna just bench 1,000 in a year.
Yeah,
I can distinctly remember almost every PR I got. My first touch I ever got in the gym in a bench shirt, which was a 2-ply Karen Klein denim. That was my first shirt I ever got. Hand me down Karen Klein that I got from Adam Hicks. In the gym, my first successful touch and press ever was 550. And then I went to my first meet in 2008, the Iron Chamber non-sanctioned bench and deadlift championships, which was up in Canton, Ohio. And I opened at 550. Then I did 580. And then I dumped 600 pounds on my face. And then I remember the first time I benched 600 officially. And then it was 605. Then I went to 615. And 620. 620. That was a big deal at the time. And then I got 625, 635. 6 plates and a quarter. That's a big deal too. 640, 650. Oh, that was a huge number for me. 650 at the WNPF Nationals in Youngstown, Ohio, back in 2009 or 10. On every little bloop in the game from 550 all the way up till now, I've enjoyed every single little PR. I know it's exciting at the prospect of benching a grand, but man, if you're at 600, get 620, get 635, get 650, get those little wins. Don't just try to go from 6 to a grand.
Yeah.
Conquer 750, 800, 825, 840. There's so many fun little steps between those goals that you can be enjoying.
I always thought in 50-pound increments.
50-pound increments, yeah.
But I also knew that, hey, you might open and then miss that. Jumping that big, I might miss it at a couple meets before I get it.
Yeah. Oh,
But yeah, I mean,
dude, I
I was
tried.
even when I started and I had these grandiose ideas. I want to do 1,000-pound squat drug free. I decided that when I did my first 7. I'm going to do 1,000, but I go, okay, first I got to get 750, then I got to get 8.
Yeah.
And it was like,
Yep.
I'm going to get 1,000 drug free. I don't care what everybody's telling me no, but I'm going to do it no matter what.
Yeah.
It might take me 10 years. I don't know how long it's going to take me, but I'm going to get there.
See,
But I got there by going 50, 50, 50,
yes.
50.
I remember, I think 900, my first 900 and my first 1,000 are very close to being the most elusive number for me.
Mm-hmm.
I tried 900, Jesus Christ, probably 5 or 6 different meets before I finally got it. It was single ply, which was the weird part. I got it single ply for the first time, but now that was 10 plus years ago. It's hard to remember. Now the 1,000, that was mid enlistment in the Marine Corps, and I decided to come back into competition when I started training, and I bombed out. I didn't even get a successful lift. I bombed out of 4 or 5 meets in the course of 12 months.
Really?
I didn't even get an opener in. I just tried 1,000 pounds on the opener for 5 meets in a row and completely bombed out, full 100% failure for a full year before I finally did 1035 at York in March of 2020.
See, this is great shit to me right here, because I see so many lifters that have these misconceptions. And I think this also goes back to the mentality. Like, how many people could bomb out of 4 meets in a year and still be like, nope, I'm going to get it. I know I'm going to get it. It's just a matter of time. Like, that's a really strong mind to do that.
I wanted it that bad.
Yeah.
And I wasn't like getting obliterated by the weight. I was missing it by just literal hairs.
Yeah.
Just technicalities. My second meet in that year was at an RPS meet in York. It was the meet that we lost Gene the night before. A really sad meet. Really bad meet. Really sad. But Amy hosted the meet anyway. And actually, I benched 1,000 flat on my opener. Funny story was there was so much noise and commotion in the music when I locked it out, and the judge said, rack it. I get up off the bench like, it was 2 reds and a white. I'm like, oh, shit. Oh, hey, table, just repeat that. I walked off the platform. Big mistake. I should have stayed on the platform and contested it, because I found out later the 2 side judges thought they heard him say, take it,
And
like he's going to
grabbed
miss it. Take it. If I would have just stayed there and said, hey, what are the reds for? We could have figured that out.
Right.
He said, oh, no, hey, Judge, I said racket. It's a good lift. I could have got it overturned, and I would have got 1,000 pounds 8-9 months earlier than I did. So lesson learned. But so I was missing it by just these tiny little margins. So I knew it was that. I knew I was going to fucking do it. And it was right before the 2020 COVID Classic, the Arnold Classic, that got canceled 2 days prior. We were in York, and this is one of those instances where I said I don't chase people in the sport, but this is one instance where I was, because Mendy had the 275 multiply bench at 1031, and he set that back in like 2010 or 12, like way back. So I wanted that number. I wanted to beat one of my idols, and it was the weekend right before the Arnold. I missed my opener of 1,000 because it wouldn't touch. I touched 1035 and pressed it. I was about to get the rack call, but I started drifting back too far and went to the rack.
Mm-hmm.
So the K and my buddies were just like, keep it over your body longer. Don't start drifting. Keep it here. Don't keep it here. Came back on the third, and my mentality was maybe kind of selfish, not selfish, kind of shallow. But my attitude was, look, don't go to the Arnold with nothing. Like, join the club and show up to the Arnold, the newest 1,000-pound bencher in the world. And then I pulled it together on the third and got 1035.
Mm-hmm.
So like yeah, but that took an entire year of 100% bomb out failures before I finally got it, but I wanted it that bad.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think people tend to not like. For me, I don't know if it's my love of underdogs or what. Like I like hearing the struggle stories instead of the like completely success stories.
Oh, because that's real. That's real life. That's being a human being. That's why I really like. I'm a huge Jackie Chan fan.
Mm-hmm.
Watched all his movies growing up. He does all of his own stunts. He has the Guinness World Record and for most stunts done by the actual actor. But what I really liked about Jackie Chan is at the end of every one of his movies, he puts in bloopers.
Yes, he does.
Of him failing to show, like, yeah, he can do incredible things, but he's still human. He fucks up too.
Oh yeah, a lot.
That's like, and bad, like really bad. So that's real. That's what being a human being is. You can't forget that. That's part of being alive.
I know when I interviewed Laura Phelps, because Laura's awesome. I really like Laura, and she said there was one point where she's like she thought Louis was going to kick her out of the gym because she hadn't got in a meet in like a year.
Laura?
Yeah.
Really?
So she's been through her. I mean, all the top guys I know, they all have. Most of them have horrible childhood stories, but like they all had struggles coming up. They all had shitty injuries and just all kinds of. And I interviewed Luke Edwards. He's a great one too because Luke's been through some shit, man. But that dude just keeps plowing away. And I think, like, man, the genetics. It's great if you have genetics, but who cares, man? Like mentality, and maybe mentality is a genetic trait. I don't know.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I've just been very fortunate from the absolute beginning to have good people around me or guiding me or helping me.
Yeah, but isn't that a choice too?
Yeah. I could have, dude. I grew up an hour from Columbus.
Mm-hmm.
An hour. I could have moved a little bit closer or fucking commuted, but I could have absolutely trained at Westside. I absolutely could have done that, or went to Lexington, or went to Elite, because they're all essentially kind of located around that area. And Laura was still probably no, she was down. She was at her home place by that point. But either way, I could have done that stuff and been around that crowd, good as it is, or was, or always will be. But like, and that was a different crowd.
I guarantee that you could have had a bunch of yes men who wanted to ride on your coattails. Like I've seen a lot of top lifters that travel with basically a friggin' entourage of yes men. And I think that's one of the worst things you can do. And like, I don't think I've ever been to a competition with you. I don't think I've ever seen you lift a competition.
I only got to finally, after all these years, meet you in person at the Arnold this past year, right?
But I mean, I've hung out with you guys and Katie. Katie's definitely a no bullshit. Like, she's gonna tell it how it is.
Oh no, she kicks my fucking ass in the gym. I tell them guys, and then we're all really good friends. So they're we're good enough friends to where they will respect this. And I tell them, like, tell me what I'm not doing.
Yeah,
I don't want to get a squat or a bench or a deadlift, and like, no, tell me what the fuck I'm not doing. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. What needs to improve. Yeah. I appreciate the encouragement, but I need to know what I'm not doing. So please tell me.
Yeah, and I haven't met all your guys, but I mean, I know Uncle Nick, and I've met some of them, and they're not like, hey, this is Jimmy Kolb, the bench press guy. They're like, hey, this is Jimmy Kolb, my buddy that I train with.
Yes, that's. And I don't like it's just ick, like. No, we're people, we're friends, and we work together, and we love what we do together. But we're not. It's not like I don't need it, and they don't want to be. I don't need an entourage of cheerleaders.
Yeah,
I don't. That's not what we draw. We just draw people that click and are just work together.
I wasn't as close to West Side and stuff, but I had opportunities to move and train at West Side and stuff. And I was like, dude, that's not my thing. Like, I need to do my own thing
No.
and have my own guys. And I always kept, like, anybody that was an ass kisser, I'm like, I think you should probably just go do your own thing. Like, I don't want that. I don't need that. Like,
No. I no. I was at Blackstone's. Who the fuck's heard of Blackstone's gym in West Lafayette, Ohio? Corn Crib, West Lafayette. And I training at Blackstone's in the middle of fucking nowhere, Ohio, Northeast Ohio. I worked up to benching 900 pounds
mm-hmm.
in single ply at 21 years old in the low 242 end class. I respectfully, I spoke to Louis twice. The first time because somebody handed me the photos here, talk to Louis. Oh, I was like 18. And the second time I actually called him to tell him about that 900.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, he had nothing but like, well, what the fuck are you doing in a single ply? Come here, we'll put you in SDP. I was like, oh, all right. But anyway, I was like, he's like, yeah, you got to come here. I'm like, respectfully, Louis, I got a really good thing going with these guys. And we've done some pretty incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna, just keep doing what I want to do. I don't need somebody to, I don't need that. I didn't want it. I wasn't under the belief, and I think you're proof. You never went to West Side. You never trained there, right?
Everybody thinks I train there. I'm like, I would go visit, and I would go talk to Louis, and like I'd go see Tony Ramos, but I never trained there. Yeah. I'm like, it wasn't my training day, so I didn't train. Like I had my
I've been there once, and that was at the 2020 Arnold. Me and Ryan and Tiny all went there on Sunday just to kind of be there, just to see it and experience it. And Louis, of course, didn't come in on Sunday, so I never got to meet him, unfortunately. But I wasn't under the belief that you had to be at Westside to be the best in the world. And people like yourself, Andy Bolton was from the fucking UK.
Yeah.
Jeff Lewis. I was looking at Ryan Kennelly, Scott, that none of them trained at Westside. They were all the greatest of all time. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to kind of do the same thing. I'm really happy the way I've done it. I'm very happy the way I've done it.
Do you follow Dorian Yates at all?
Yeah, kind of partially, I suppose. Yeah.
I know it's bodybuilding, a totally different thing, but when he got really popular, he was like, yeah, they wanted me to move to California and Weeder and all this stuff. And he's like, that's not me. I don't want that distraction. I don't want that. So he actually stayed in I think it was Birmingham, England, his little dirty gym and just kept doing his thing. And I have a huge respect for that mentality.
Yeah. No, I'm a very homebody. I mean, I could live anywhere and make it work, right? But no, I was at Blackstone's, then I was at Iron Chamber, and I was in the military, and now I've been at Unleashed here in Manassas, Virginia for the last 4 years since they opened day one. I've been at Unleashed since the opening day. And I've done 14. I think I've done 14 competitive 1,000-pound benches in the last 3 years, and they've all been training under that roof with my guys, and I could not be more grateful for what I have. They're just amazing group of people that we have. It's incredible. It really is.
So do you have any urge to ever bench raw? Is that something you even think about or you care about?
No, not really. The internet wants me to, which is the dumbest.
I can't help it. I mean, I can't help it. I know it's dumb, but I'd kind of like to see it. But I totally understand. Like they're almost two different. They're kind of two different sports, and it's like why
they are.
Like
it absolutely is.
I think every time I tore my pec, it was because I was doing raw shit, and I did one raw meet for a friend.
Yeah.
It was like a high school competition. He's like, dude, it's raw, but I really want you to come do it. And I'm like, all right, it's for the kids. So I opened with 5, went 550 and tore the crap out of my pack. And my teammates would not let me. They're like, why did you do a raw meet, you dumbass? They would not. Yeah, they still to this day, they comment on that one, I think.
Yeah. I don't. Ryan Kennelly tore his pec benching raw to meet.
Mm-hmm.
Mendy tore his pec famously. Not he didn't want it to be famous, but famously because of that picture on the internet benching
That's a
raw
good
at the meet.
picture. Yeah.
He didn't want it to get on the internet. He did not intend for that to get out, but it did. That's a oof. But yeah, it's not something I'm interested in. I chose my path a very long, exactly 15 years ago. I'm very happy that I did it that way. I am thoroughly enjoying what the fuck I'm doing. Uh, People on the internet are not going to get me to divert to do things I don't want to fucking do just to
Yeah.
prove a point. Fuck you. I don't
Yeah.
give who the
Well,
no.
what's the point anyway? Like, I
That's
mean,
it. Well,
I'd just be curious to see it, but I mean, what it doesn't make any difference.
the thing was, if
You're
I
in my
wanted,
mind, you are one of the greatest bench pressers of all time. That's not going to
well, I appreciate,
change. Doesn't change no
well,
matter what you did.
yeah, I appreciate that. I do. Adversely, you, of course, I mean, I consider you one of the greatest full powerlifters of all time. Especially, you were years ahead when you were competing. But to the point, I would have to the catalyst for me benching raw would be, well, I would have to fucking want to do it.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing. I would have to come to the point in my life where I said, benching raw is the best thing for me to do. I want to do it. It's what it's all what I want.
Mm-hmm.
Not, well, I'm going to do it to prove the internet wrong. Fuck the internet. Do things I don't want to do to prove a point to people I don't even fucking know. That's a complete waste of life and time. So, as much as they want me to, it's not going to fucking happen.
It's fun. I just had this weird thought. How come they don't go to shot putters and go, well, how far could you throw a 21-pound shot?
Yeah.
How far could you throw a 12-pound shot?
Yeah. I don't know. They want something to compare themselves to. They hear 1,400 pounds. Well, what do you do? I get that shit all the fucking time. It's like they want something to compare themselves to. They can't bench 14.
But still, didn't you do like 400 raw for like fucking 30 reps or something?
No, I've done 405 for 20, 22 reps, my best. 315 for 40, 225 for almost 80, 500 for like 10, like, all reverse grip. That's how I do raw stuff. But yeah,
do you know how many people, like, especially when I post what I'm doing, my grip?
Yeah.
They think you are like the inventor of the reverse grip. They're like the reverse grip like Jimmy Kolb does. I'm like, even Jimmy knows that was started a long time ago.
It was year before I was even born.
I think actually, Anthony Clark was the first big and I think he did a full reverse too, I think.
Yeah, he did the full
he wasn't
actual,
and which is still seems scary as shit to me. And I don't know if I can pronate that much.
I cannot. I can't actually. It hurt like this band right here. I can't actually. I always wanted to do it. So not even to my credit, my buddy Joe Fazio was the one who told me. I said, man, I've always wanted to reverse grip, but I just can't take the pain right here. He's like, well, hey, man, I've seen people carry it between these two fingers. You gotta try that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, okay. And I tried it, and then 4 years later, I'm still fucking doing it.
I've had people go, oh, you're doing the Jimmy Kolb bench. I go, no, I'm not. Jimmy goes through the first two fingers. I split my 4 fingers.
Yes. You do something different. I do this.
What's my one client starts calling it the Spock grip.
Oh,
live long and prosper.
Yeah, big dong and prosper or something. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, no,
Interestingly enough, though, I had a fighter who messaged me when he saw my video, and he's like, man, I stopped benching because he goes, my shoulders are just screwed from fighting and stuff. And he goes, I really miss benching. And he goes, I saw your video. And then he tried it, and I don't know if he did between where you do or where I do, but either way, he's like, holy crap, this is going to be a game changer. He's like, I can bench press now with no pain. And I'm almost like with my athletes, I've started switching a couple of my guys over. I'm almost, because I think athletes, I said, I don't think an athlete ever has to bench with a straight bar. At least give them like a Cadillac bar or a Swiss bar.
Yeah.
Or go to a reverse grip. Like, why do they need to put that pressure on their shoulders?
Well, that's the thing. Like, people are obsessed with the football bars because they have, these handles, and it puts your joints in this position. I hate that they rotate. I don't like the football bars.
That was the one thing that the Cadillac bar tried to address.
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think it's enough of an angle. Like the arc needs to be either higher or something. When I go to the wide ones, it's still like, and it's, you get a bunch of heavy weight on there. Like, yeah, it wants to, what the hell action is that? I can't remember what action that is.
Deviation.
Yeah. It's hard to keep that thing stable. It's kind of scary, but I don't have that problem with reverse grip.
See, that's the thing. So you're benching like this.
Mm-hmm.
We can attain the exact same position just by simply changing the hand position.
Yeah, just grabbing.
It's the exact. Now, this is obviously different, but we use our grip. You can achieve a football bar type of position and alignment just by simply changing the hand position. This is the same as this. It's exactly the same. I can do everything a football bar has the benefits of with a straight bar by using one of those two grips.
And it's so much easier on the shoulders.
It's absolutely, like, I used to get knots in both my pecs all the damn time, benching like everybody else fucking does, pronated, raw, pecs, knots everywhere all the time, super painful. Switch to this, have not had a knot since in 4 years because it's a heavy tricep dominant bench pressing style. What else could I fucking want?
Yeah,
you know,
back and triceps. And for most athletes, what do they need? They don't need more chest development. They need their back and triceps.
Back and Yep. That's so. If I was ever going to compete raw, which I probably never fucking will, I would do it with that reverse grip. It's competition legal as long as your pinky finger is in contact with the ring. So,
is that what they're? Because I was wondering about that because they used to have a rule that your thumb had to be wrapped around it.
So, as in when you do pronated, your trigger fingers have to be in contact with the ring.
Yeah.
So, same thing. You flip it around, your pinky has to be in contact with the ring.
That makes sense.
That's what meet directors have told me. Like, okay, you can do that. You just got to make sure
you can really only go so wide anyway.
Yeah.
With your hand turned that way, you're already close to the uprights.
Yeah. I've actually, so when I did my 1,050 in Belmar, I was warming up. I think it was 3 plates, but I threw 3 plates in the rack without paying attention, and I pinched the skin off my knuckle. I was like, fuck me. So I went and duct taped it up and then kept lifting and benched, and then it got my 1,050.
I've only done that once. It fucking hurt.
I've done it. I think I've done it at least twice to both hands on either one of these 2 knuckles. But so it's a little precarious in that note. But other than that, the benefits are. I think that's going to be my topic of conversation when we're at the Swiss. I'm speaking at the Swiss this year, and I'm not fucking smart. So I think the only thing I'm going to talk about is why reverse grip. Here's the benefits. Here's why I do it. Here's why I think you should do it. I only have like 15 minutes to speak, so I think that's going to be my topic. But yeah, I could go on.
That 15-minute runs fast.
It does. That's why I'm going to have to try to be conscious of the clock. But like that'll probably be my topic of conversation, I think. So, but yeah, I could go on for days.
That's cool. That was actually on my bucket list, was to do the Swiss, and I got to talk last year. They didn't.
Oh, you did?
They didn't ask me this year, but
it's in Columbus. But where is it? Is it at a convention center? Is it in a hotel?
It's a nice convention center.
It's not the greater one that Arnold's at, is it?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of, I can't remember what little deviation of the city it's in.
Yeah.
But it was a nice setup.
Okay. I just don't have a picture in my head of where it's being held.
I think my problem was I talked about depression and sports and overtraining and how they're all affected. And I didn't think about it till afterwards because Dr. Ken said it did really good, like people watching the video, but not that many people really showed up.
Oh.
And I'm like, so if you show up to my talk, you're kind of admitting you probably deal with depression. And I think there's still a lot of people that don't really want to come out with that kind of information.
Sure.
I think that kept me from getting. Plus, I told Ed Cohn because I was up against Ed. I go, great. Who the hell would come listen to me when they can go listen to you? I go, this is bullshit.
Well, luckily, yeah. I think I'm actually speaking in the same slot as Ken Kanak. I think me and him are on the same like block or something. I don't.
Yeah, because that's one of the problems when it's such an awesome thing, but when you actually go in person, there's like 6 or 7 going on at the same time.
Oh,
so you kind of, and they're all in different rooms. So like if you're going to attend it, you got to really look at the schedule and go, okay, here's who I want to see the most.
Yeah. All right. Well, either way, I'll make. I mean, it's a trip home for us to visit family. It's an hour to Columbus, do the thing, hour back, and then come home. So it's not going to be too big a deal.
It's still a good thing, and they've recorded all, and then like you get the videos. So the people you didn't get to see in person, you can go back and watch their videos and stuff. It's a cool deal.
Sweet.
I had fun with it. All right, Jimmy, I'm going to let you go. Dude, I appreciate you being on again. For me, this was pretty much like, oh, hey, I'm recording my talk with Jimmy, catching up.
Yeah. Oh, dude, no, I absolutely, pleasure's all mine. Thank you for having me back on for a second time, and I've really enjoyed everything we've talked about so far.
Yeah, I think we covered some cool stuff, a lot of different stuff than
different stuff. Oh yeah. I think it was a little more, had some good flow and structure to it.
Yeah. So basically, Jimmy Kolb on Instagram. What the hell's your Instagram?
Kolb Strong, so it's KOLBSTRONG, one word.
That's right. And then you have your YouTube channel.
Yep, that's just Jimmy Kolb on YouTube. I put out videos. I go live on Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and Instagram to answer questions. And it's called Benching and Bullshitting, so we talk bench and we bullshit. Mm-hmm. Mondays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. I put out I have a YouTube members, which is also attached to my Patreon. So I have Patreon and YouTube members. They get the same content for the same amount of money, $10 a month. If you don't want to download Patreon and subscribe, you can just go onto YouTube and go on to members. So it's basically all my behind the scenes stuff, all the behind the scenes training. So the 5 days a week that I train, I record it, I voice it over, I edit it all together, and I upload it. So you could watch exactly what I do, how I do it, why I do it 5 days a week that lead me to all these big bench presses.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Anderson. I know you have a discount code for Anderson Powerlifting.
Yep,
Anderson.
Back there.
Yes, that's the one.
Yes.
Anderson is, they got all kinds of cool shit.
Oh man, it's your powerlifting superstore. Kolb Strong, so my Instagram handle gets you 10% off anything at the store. Disclaimer: not the F8 bench bar that we sell. It doesn't work on the bench bar. Everything else at the store, Kolb Strong gets you 10% off. Anything you need, from bench shirts, squat suits, deadlift suits, belts, ammonia, chalk, knee sleeves, elbow sleeves, knee wraps, you name it. AndersonPowerlifting.com will have it for you. And if they have it in stock, you will have it in days, not weeks or months.
Right.
Yes.
And then you have the Kolb Strong Scholarship, which is a cool deal.
It's been a little slower this year because we've been extraordinarily busy with travel and competing and just kind of focusing on that. But what we do is we raise $1,000 at a time, and we sponsor one young powerlifting athlete between the ages of 13 to 23. So we collect money via donations or fundraisers throughout the year. Come January 1st to the 31st, we accept applications, and the application process is very simple. They go to KolbStrongScholarship.com, follow the steps, tell us your story. Once we receive all the applications, me, Katie, and a board of people, about 5 or 6 of us, go through all the applications, pick the ones that need it the most, and we cut $1,000 checks.
Yeah,
that's money for them to use for anything they deem necessary, from gym dues, travel expenses, getting into competitions, buying new equipment, or blowing it on a PlayStation 4. I don't care. It's your money at that point. So, but that's what this Kolb Strong Scholarship Foundation is for.
Awesome. All right, Jimmy, thank you for being on. I'm going to close this one out.
Cool.
And we'll see everybody next time.
Thanks for listening to the Courage Barbell Unlimited podcast. For more information, please visit CourageBarbell.com. Until next time.